Aprender inglés para el mundo de los negocios dejó de ser opcional hace mucho tiempo y es por eso que nos encontramos en este espacio tan especial en su tercera edición de Platzi English Talks, un espacio en el que nos encontramos para hablar en inglés, practicar lo que sabemos y sobre todo armarnos de herramientas que nos permitan mejorar nuestro currículo. Yo soy John Carvajal, School Owner de English Academy y en esta oportunidad me encuentro desde Ciudad de México con nuestros estudiantes que nos acompañan en este espacio. Y es que esta edición de English Talks es bastante especial porque es la primera, es su tercera edición que hacemos, pero es la primera edición que la hacemos en paralelo con nuestra bella, hermosa Bogotá. Y en este momento nos acompañan con nuestra audiencia de estudiantes desde la ciudad de Bogotá, en Colombia. Guay, nuestra community builder. Guay, placer compartir nuevamente el escenario contigo en esta oportunidad, compartiendo dos espacios geográficos a la vez. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo te encuentras? ¿Y cómo está Bogotá en este momento?
Hola John y hola a toda nuestra comunidad que nos está viendo live, nuestra comunidad allá en México que nos habían pedido que hiciéramos este evento desde allá y por supuesto feliz de estar acá con nuestra comunidad en Bogotá. There we go. Acá
Me
para
gusta,
que
me
se
gusta
den
esa emoción,
cuenta,
guay.
claro, que se note que no estoy acá sola, estoy acompañada. Estoy muy feliz de estar acá porque, como lo dices tú, John, es la tercera edición de English Talks y sabemos que el inglés, ya lo dijiste, es fundamental. Así que hoy trajimos unos speakers super top que nos van a contar su experiencia, van a inspirar a la comunidad y quiero invitar a todas las personas que nos están viendo desde Platzi o desde YouTube, si nos estás viendo desde YouTube, a todas esas personas que se animen a tomar notas, a compartir en redes sociales qué aprendieron hoy, qué se llevan, qué les motiva a aprender inglés y cómo han logrado aprender inglés también para que sigamos inspirando al mundo y sigamos creciendo en conjunto. John, ¿cómo están los ánimos por allá en México? Estoy súper feliz de tener a México esta vez en la casa.
Sí, guay, estoy emocionadísimo porque esta es la primera vez que nos encontramos de una manera tan especial como esta. Y si tú tienes speakers allá en Bogotá, déjame decirte que yo también tengo unas sorpresas acá sobre el final de la sesión. Un par de estudiantes que nos van a compartir algo muy especial. Así que ese es el spoiler que dejo para que estemos todos y todas muy conectados y conectadas en este espacio que nos encontramos hoy para mejorar esas oportunidades laborales que todos queremos a través del inglés. Yo quiero aprovechar, ya que estoy acá en Ciudad de México y que nos encontramos una hora antes, me encanta estar una hora adelantado en el calendario, es la primera vez que esto me pasa con Ciudad de México. Quiero aprovechar para que escuchen cómo está el ambiente en Ciudad de México en este momento. Así como ya escuchamos a Bogotá y toda la audiencia que nos está viendo en este momento a través de platzi.com/ la actividad que tenemos en este momento y junto a nuestra página de YouTube para saludar a toda la audiencia, a los estudiantes que se encuentran conectados de YouTube también. Y quiero que todos escuchemos también cómo están los ánimos en México en este momento, ¿no? Entonces, así como tú saludaste a tu audiencia ya también en Bogotá, guay, quiero que nuestra audiencia acá en México me dé su mejor, vamos a ponerlo diferente, vamos a hacerlo no como, sino vamos a decir, we are ready. Y que ese sea nuestro cue para empezar. ¿Te parece guay?
Me parece espectacular. Vamos a escuchar
Listo.
los ánimos de México.
Listo, vamos a ver entonces cómo está México. Entonces, people, on the count of three, we are ready. Y me voy a remover el micrófono para que no crean que estoy haciendo aquí trampa de que yo tengo sonidos, no sé qué. No, listo. Entonces, a la cuenta de tres, we are ready. Y vamos a dar por iniciado English Talks, tercera edición, primera edición, Bogotá, Ciudad de México. ¿Listo? On the count of three. 3, 2, 1. We are ready. Yes, why it seems we are ready. And with this cue, let's get this started. I know you have a very special guest to get this kicked off. Tell us more about it.
Absolutely, John. Thank you for that. And yes, this is in Spanglish today. If you were not ready, or if you were wondering, why is this in Spanish? I came to practice English. You will practice English. We are going to be doing this in Spanglish because we come to talk about English, right? So we need English. And we are going to start with our first guest. I'm going to introduce him in Spanish. Nuestro primer invitado es un profe Platzi, que si ya han tomado cursos, ahorita que lo vean, cuéntenos en el chat, cuéntenos si ya tomaron sus cursos. Y este profe es desarrollador móvil. Por supuesto, sabemos que el inglés es indispensable y nos va a contar el día de hoy cómo el inglés le ha ayudado a llegar hasta donde está el día de hoy qué obstáculos ha pasado y, por supuesto, compartir tips para que todos y todas quienes nos están viendo en México, desde casa y acá en Bogotá, puedan también tomar esos tips y llevar su inglés y su carrera al siguiente nivel. Así que, John, ayúdame allá desde México a darle una bienvenida. Quiero escuchar, hagámoslo al tiempo, México, Bogotá. Démosle la bienvenida a Cristian Villamil con un gran aplauso.
Bueno, ¿este es el momento del aplauso? Un gusto tenerte en el escenario, Cristian.
Cristian, un gusto tenerte acá. Te voy a pasar este.
Okay.
Vamos a ver si este, perfectísimo. Bueno, Cristian, es un placer tenerte acá. Gracias por aceptar esta invitación.
Gracias a ustedes también.
Cuéntame cómo te sientes de estar dando esta charla hoy acá.
Bueno, es una mezcla de emociones, ¿no? Es felicidad, también angustia, un poquito de nervios, pero con los gritos de la gente y los aplausos para mí es suficiente para dar esta charla y darla con la mejor energía.
Espectacular. Primera vez que lo hacemos en inglés.
First time.
First time.
Yes.
Bueno, quiero que se queden con eso. First time, vamos a animar a Cristian y él nos trae un aprendizaje súper importante. No voy a hacer spoilers, así que Cristian, all yours.
Thank you so much. Gracias. Bueno, vamos a hablar de cómo vencer el miedo a hablar inglés y triunfar en el desarrollo mobile. Sí, es mi fuerte, es donde yo trabajo. So let's switch to English and let's travel 8 years ago and call it the beginning. So what happens 8 years ago? I had a dream, right? So my dream is how I can be a very good engineer in a big company. I think you have maybe the same dream to work in big companies like Facebook, like Google. I think you shared with me that, that dream. But I need to learn something. So I found 3 things that I need to learn, 3 big things. So the first one, learn tech skills. So if you are going to work with Google or something in the tech industry, you need to learn the tech skills, right? Also, we need to know how to communicate and how to share the knowledge, the questions. So you need to learn the soft skills. But you also need to learn something very important, the English, because you need to be careful in how you are going to explain your ideas, your doubts. So I need to learn English. But how? That's the question. How I can learn English, right? So I think in 3 steps: learn, apply, and improve. So the first one, learn. Easy. Take the Platzi English Academy courses, right? So it's pretty easy. You are here and you know what you need to do. But we need also another thing. Have conversations. But for have conversations, you know, right now I'm feeling nervous, right? But you need to have conversations with people, because it's not just complete the courses, get some certificates. You need to have conversations, right? Do it with fear. I am doing that with fear. But you need to say, okay, I need to have conversations, so I am feeling fear, but I will do that. That was my first phase when I got my first conversation, right? So it's normal. We are humans. I am a dreamer like you. I'm not different. I'm not a genius or something, a people special, or I don't have some English speakers near me. So I'm not different. But I did something different. What do you think? I did it with fear. Simple. I'm doing the things with fear. Yes, you are going to feel it, and it's okay, but do the things. After you have conversations, you are going to make mistakes. You are going to be careful with the words, with the pronunciation. That's okay, no problem. But you need to learn from that mistakes and repeat again. What do you need to repeat? Learn, apply, and improve, right? I fail a lot of times because I'm human. But being human also allowed me to learn and improve myself. But what happens after the fear? What happens from 8 years ago to now? So I learned the required English, not the perfect English, the required English to work on companies like this. I work for Disney, I work for PayPal, and right now I'm working on Reddit. So Reddit is a very big company, and I achieved the dream. Yeah. Thank you. Remember, my English is not perfect, but I am improving it every day. You need to make mistakes, but improve it. Just improve it every day. Just make mistakes is normal. I want to say one thing. Please do it with fear, and the dreams come true. Thank you so much.
Wow, poderosísimo el mensaje de Cristian. Acá los ánimos están bastante altos. Veo mucha gente tomando nota. Guay, así que yo voy a hacer algo que tenemos fuera de lo que tenemos planeado, pero precisamente como estamos hablando de que este es un espacio seguro para practicar, para aprender y sobre todo para que crezcamos en comunidad. Yo quiero garantizar que todos en casa y desde acá, desde México y desde Bogotá, estemos aprovechando al máximo este escenario. Así que yo quiero atreverme a que un par de estudiantes acá de nuestra audiencia nos cuenten en español, en inglés, bueno, en el idioma de su preferencia, ¿cuál es esa frase que más destacan de la intervención de Cristian? Yo tengo aquí varias anotadas que me encantaron un montón, pero ¿te parece si lo hacemos así? Guay, vemos un poquito de los comentarios de nuestros estudiantes acá en México y me encantaría que me ayudaran con un resumen, llamémoslo así, de esta intervención de Cristian. ¿Te parece?
Me parece espectacular. Acá nos estamos preparando también para una sorpresa súper chévere. Acá la pueden ver. Así que vamos y aprendamos allá qué está aprendiendo nuestra comunidad.
Perfecto. También quiero invitar a todos y todas en el chat a que nos dejen un resumen en una frase. Vamos a imaginar que es un tweet. Y nos dejen un tweet en nuestra caja de comentarios de cómo resumirían en sus palabras el principal aprendizaje de la charla que acabamos de tener con Cristian. Y mientras tanto, aquí en México, quiero preguntarle a nuestros estudiantes, ¿quién se anima aquí a venir al frente con el micrófono y nos dé un resumen en un tweet? Vamos a hacerlo en un tweet, sencillito, menos de, no sé, 15, 20 palabras. ¿Cuál es esa frase que nos llevamos a casa de la experiencia de Cristian? Yo tengo una y es, no tenemos que tener un inglés perfectísimo, podemos hacerlo con miedo y está bien hacerlo con miedo. Así que quiero ver aquí, ¿quién se anima? ¿Quién se anima? Parte de hacer el ejercicio es hacerlo con miedo, así que está muy bien que lo hagamos con miedo, es parte de la experiencia. Perfecto, ¿ven conmigo? Sí. Vamos a aprovechar y mándale un saludo a tu mamá si te está viendo en este momento, a todos allá, a tus seguidores, porque estamos en línea, ¿no? Entonces cuéntanos tu nombre, qué estudias en Platzi y qué te llevas de la charla que acabamos de tener con Cristian.
Okay, my name is Luis Manuel Hernández Rivera. I am a designer, and I think the phrase that comes to my mind with Cristian, what he said was that for you to grow, first you need to be scared, because fear moves people, and that's really powerful, but it also stops you. You need to be aware that you are scared. Right now, I'm scared because I'm not a camera guy, but you need to just be fearless, like the movie Monsters Inc. University. Wazowski, he's not a
that's
monster.
A good reference.
He's not a monster that He's scary for kids, but he's fearless, and that's also another good quality to have. That's what I learned with Christian right now.
Wow, creo que este es un excelente ejemplo. Thank you so much. Great. Creo que este es un gran ejemplo de lo que significa hacerlo con miedo, ¿cierto? Cuando estamos aprendiendo inglés, todos tenemos ese momento de pánico donde tenemos la primera conversación en inglés. Y por las caras que veo acá en México, nos ha pasado a todos, ¿no? Esa primera conversación en inglés es siempre como la cara que nos mostraba Cristian en su presentación. Pero hacerlo con miedo es parte de ese proceso de crecimiento. Guay, ¿cómo ves las cosas tú allá en Bogotá? Sé que tienes un par de invitados especiales. Sé que vamos a hacer una ronda de preguntas con expertos, así que cuéntanos cómo sigue Bogotá.
Bueno, te cuento que por acá está también la gente comentando, también veo caras de sí, me ha pasado, sí, tiene razón. Y vamos a seguir esta conversación porque esta es una conversación muy importante. Pero entonces acá yo traje a otro experto también. Acá yo dupliqué los expertos así mágicamente mientras tú estabas allá charlando con los estudiantes. Quiero invitar antes de presentarles al nuevo experto que tenemos por acá a que nos compartan en el chat, compártanos qué preguntas les quieren hacer a Cristian y a John, ya se los presento. También acá en Bogotá vayan pensando qué preguntas les quieren hacer. Y en México, por supuesto, la idea es que tengamos una conversación. Yo voy a iniciar, yo ya tengo mis preguntas, pero quiero que me ayuden porque no traje tantas preguntas, así que necesito apoyo de la comunidad. Y para todas las personas que están tomando fotos, que están compartiendo, que dicen, esto le sirve a mi mejor amigo, mi mejor amiga, y se lo envían, compártanlo con el hashtag Platzi Eventos, taguen a Platzi, taguenos por acá. Ahí vamos a estar haciendo más ruido para que más gente se una a estos espacios y se inspire y pueda lograr sus metas. Así que, bueno, ya después de esa introducción, ahora sí me voy con John. John, tú eres founder de Justo. Tuvimos la oportunidad tú y yo de estar en una live class también hablando un poquito de cómo has logrado ese camino, pero acá sé que hay mucha gente que no te conoce, así que cuéntanos un poquito de ti, qué haces y, bueno, cuál es tu conexión con Platzi para que nuestra comunidad te conozca y ya vamos a hablar un poquito en inglés.
En español.
Empecemos en español y ya nos vamos con... John está listo acá con el inglés, como a mí me prometieron que era inglés.
Yo también estoy acá listísimo.
Si
guay.
quieres en inglés, vámonos con inglés, John, vámonos con inglés.
Let's go.
Excellent.
My name's John. I'm a 37-year-old lawyer. I had a corporate life previous to founding my startup. I learned English as a little kid because my dad kind of saw the future and knew, he thought knowing English and speaking English well at my adult stage would be a competitive advantage. He was kind of right, because nowadays speaking English isn't a competitive advantage. It's a need that you have in your professional life. And that particular skill set in English helped me kick off my career grandly, and I did really well very soon because I started working at a corporate conglomerate here in Bogotá. And when I started working there, the founders and me were the only people that had conversational English skills. So I went through a lot of people and I kind of cut the line and I was promoted very quickly because the year that I went, that I started working for that conglomerate, we received our first investment from abroad, and I was the one in charge of handling the connection between the investors and the managers of each of the company's areas. So that helped me started doing really well. I got the opportunity to work directly with the founders who weren't my bosses at first. And then after some years of gathering that experience, I went on. I founded my own law firm, and then I decided that I loved law, but I do not enjoy working with lawyers. So I wanted to create a company that was able to make law accessible for the average Joe, es el ciudadano del común, and that's what Justo is. Justo is an online solution, and I'm gonna sell here because my investors are gonna say, you've gotta be working, so I'm working. And Justo is an online solution that allows people to make their rights effective without having to make a choice between their pockets and their dignity. And we started 30 months ago. We've served already 45,000 customers. We've handled 65,000 cases. And I came into the Platzi circle because we did the program called Platzi Startups Demo Day, which was absolutely life-changing for us. The content is very valuable. The speakers that they take to give the lectures to you are great founders. But what really kicked us off was that was our way to enter into the startup community, which was kind of a small private club. But going through the program allowed us to connect with our Demo Day fellows, and we even we've had the opportunities several times to speak with Christian and Freddy, the founders of Platzi. We have a lot of friends that are managers at Platzi, and we started like really coming into the scene, and making connections is extremely important in the startup ecosystem. So that's all of the marvelous things that Platzi has done for us.
Amazing. I love to hear that. If you're not familiar, go and check it out, Platzi Demo Day. Thank you for sharing, John. And you mentioned two very important things that I want us to go deep into. And one of them is you had conversational English. And Christian, you shared a little bit the same, right? It was not perfect, but I could communicate. What would you say is the importance of having, what do companies value? Do they value that you speak like a native, or that you can communicate and you can start there? Christian, I want to start with you. What do you think?
Okay, so, well, from my experience, I think you just need to be clear and explain the things that you need. We don't need some complex words, some complex sentences. You just need to explain, be clear, and that's it.
Excellent. To start with.
Yes, of course.
Okay, I like that. I like that, of course.
Yeah.
To start with. You cannot stay there. You need to keep improving, right?
Yes. And when you are going to have some conversations with people in an international company, you are going to make mistakes and you need to improve it. You need to learn, and also you are going to learn from the mistakes and from the environment that you are working.
That's very important. You mentioned the environment. And we have two very different profiles here. We have development and we have law. What would you say about, I think about law, and neither in Spanish nor in English. I'm sure I can speak about law, like just the basics. So what would you say was the biggest challenge in terms of the language in a law firm? Because the terms and the vocabulary, and of course it's a very formal environment that requires a very specific kind of English, right? So what would you say was the most challenging aspect to use English in this very specific environment, John?
Technicalities. Because basically, when you go into a technical area and you have to start speaking English as a second language, it's like starting from scratch again, because you don't know the specific terms for what you trained yourself for 5 years in the university. So you've got to start like how do you say prescripción? How do you say caducidad? And that's really complex because you think you speak English, and when you get there, you see you really didn't. So it was really complex, and in these, you didn't say it, but I'm gonna say it, in this extremely boring lawyer world, which they are very stuck up, and everybody thinks there's so much. That's why I dress like this, because it's my statement that you don't need to be suited up in Ferragamos to be and to make something of value in the world of law. But they're so perfectionist, they're so, you've gotta lose your Latin accent. You didn't say, I can't, no specific terms comes to mind, but you should say this like this and not like that. But really, what you need in order to lose fear and to start getting your English better is to be able to communicate yourself, to lose fear, as Christian said, and just make the improvement of your English part of your playtime. And that's really what I've done. Whenever I watch a series or a movie, I watch it in English with the audio and the captions in English. I rap to myself in English just to let the tongue loose. I constantly work. Whenever I'm gonna start speaking in English, for example, I was gonna say for ejemplo.
Long life to Spanglish, you know, that's what happens in a bilingual head. We mix languages, and that's perfectly, you know, that's perfectly bilingual.
Yes. For example, before a pitch in English with a foreign investor, I make up a couple of tongue twisters like, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? And those type of kids games, they're great for losing your tongue and changing your mind to the English chip, which is only done when you practice a lot. Right now, I'm not thinking in Spanish and then moving to English because it would take much more time than it takes right now. But this is only possible because I've worked a lot on my English, and I've incorporated the perfection of my English in my playtime.
I think that's a very important advice. English shouldn't be something boring and something that I have to do, but rather something that becomes part of our lives, and it's a tool to do many things. I love podcasts, so if you have seen me before, someone who has heard me, I always say podcasts. And podcasts, you have thousands of podcasts in English. You can listen to them, you're learning about new things, but you're practicing the language. Before we go to Mexico, because John, I know you might have some questions over there, before we go to other questions, Christian, what do you do to improve your English? How do you incorporate it, as John says, in your playtime, as part of your hobbies? How do you do it?
Well, the first one is switch my phone's language. Switch my phone's language to English. That's the first one. The another one is force me to be in an English environment. Like John says, I think we need to listen movies in English, read in English. From my technical part, I read a lot of articles on English. So I think you need to build an English environment. And when you build that English environment, you are going to improve it.
I love that. I think that's the quote I take right now. Build an English environment. And I'm going to take advantage to say that's what we are doing here, and I would like our streamers to show our community here in Bogota, because that's exactly what we are doing here. Building that English environment and that English network of people to practice with, right? Now, before we continue here, I have questions, but I'm not the only one with questions. So, John, I would like you to share with us what questions do you have over there in Mexico or people who are watching us live?
Guay, yo estoy acá tomando nota también de lo que estoy viendo en el chat. Hay un par de preguntas. Yo voy a atreverme a lanzar mi mexicano más elaborado y acá ustedes me van a decir si funciona, pero voy a decir unas preguntas muy chidas. ¿Sí? ¿Está bien? ¿Sí? ¿Tiene sentido lo que estoy diciendo? ¿O sigo hablando mejor en inglés? ¿No? Sí. Bueno, aquí ya me aprobó, México ya me aprobó el hecho de que tenemos preguntas muy chidas por acá y hay una que me encanta y quiero hacerla a los dos, a Cristian y a John, basándonos en los comentarios que tenemos, y es, ¿cómo pierden ese miedo a tener un acento? ¿No? Porque hay una barrera grande comercial con respecto al acento, ¿no? Que entre más americanizado o entre más britanizado hables, pues mucho mejor, pero es un mito bastante grande que si queremos desmentir mitos, nos vemos en el curso de estrategias para aprender inglés en línea, por cierto. Así que, John y Cristian, ¿cómo hacen ustedes desde sus conversaciones en inglés para luchar con ese diablito interior que tenemos todos que nos dicen, ay, es que mi acento no es muy bueno?
Who wants to start? Go ahead, Christian.
Well, from my experience, the accent is not too much important because in an international company, you are going to work together with a lot of accents. The Indian accents that if you listen an Indian speaking in English, so you know that is very difficult. Also the Greek accent speaking in English is very confused. So I think we don't need to be perfect in the accent because we need to communicate. We need to understand what are going to say the other people, your teammates. Accent, I think you can improve it. It's amazing, but I think you are going to hear too much accents in an international company, for example.
I agree with that. We say English is the international language. That means people from all over the world are supposed to be speaking English, right? And come on, how many accents do we have in Spanish, right? Just in Spanish. So why would we expect to have one single accent in English? And we'll have a new accent around later on. John, what do you have to tell about this?
Guay, pues fíjate que estamos hablando de acentos y estos días, este par de semanas, este casi mes que llevo en México me han servido también para encontrarme con acentos bien diferentes en español. Y hay ocasiones en las que incluso siendo el español my first language, mi primera lengua, suena un poco extraño, my first language, hay cosas que no entiendo y tengo como que, wait, ¿qué quieres decir? Y estamos hablando el mismo idioma, así que esto pasa naturalmente en todos los idiomas. Los acentos son parte de la cultura y la cultura es subjetiva y bueno, disponible sí, como available for everyone, sí, como disponible para todo el mundo en la medida que nos abramos esos horizontes, ¿no? Entonces, cuando hablamos con personas de otros países, de otras culturas, no solamente estamos enriqueciendo nuestro idioma, sino que también estamos creciendo a nivel cultural. Entonces, me encanta lo que nos acaban de responder, y es que el idioma trae esta riqueza, ¿no? Intelectual y cultural. Cuando lo vemos desde ese ángulo, más allá de solamente el hecho de la comunicación, nos abrimos a un panorama grandísimo, y es lo que estoy viviendo acá en México con el acento, ¿no? En algunas ocasiones me han confundido por chileno, no sé qué tan esté mi chileno, pero eso lo llevo al inglés, ¿no? Entonces, cuando interactuamos con personas que tienen un acento de India, que tienen un acento europeo, que tienen un acento un poco más, como llamamos, americanizado, es un buen ejercicio para darnos cuenta, estamos en un ambiente multicultural al que tenemos que sacarle, como decimos coloquialmente, el jugo, ¿no? Why?
I totally agree with you. And I loved what you say about each accent represents a culture. And when we speak about English being the international language, it's not about having one united culture. We are talking about giving accessibility to everyone to get to know each other's culture. So I love that. Okay, John, what do you have to say about that? Because you actually mentioned it.
Yeah. So, you, as a Latin, you think your accent is very easy to become a problem, but when you first speak to a Nepalese or an Indian guy, or I had in this work I was telling you about, we had a call with Maltesians from Malta, and this was the first line that we heard was some guy over the phone greeting my boss and telling him, "Hey, Julian, it's nice to see you." And I was like, I can't handle this, and then I started laughing, and my boss was like, "What happened with you?" And I'm like, "You brought me into a phone call with Mario Bros." What do you want me to do? And then he started laughing, so we had to mute the phone. But when you see that the other people's accents are so much heavier than yours, you just lose the importance that you give that, and you just let go.
Wow. Yes, there are many more accents that are stronger than ours. And I'm going to say something here that Freddie said once as well when I asked him about this. And the first thing he said was like, well, if you're worried about sounding like Sofia Vergara, think about how much money she makes. So something to think about, right? So it's not a limitation. We need to work on pronunciation, making sure that our pronunciation is clear, that we are using the right vowel sounds, the right consonant sounds, that we are stressing the words properly. Also, we can focus on not sounding like a robot, right? Because we don't speak like that naturally. So let's focus on sounding natural, having fluency, but not in picking an accent. Now, if you pick an accent because you watch a lot of British movies, that's all right. It doesn't mean it's wrong. Just make sure it's authentic. I think that's what I always say about an accent. Make sure it's authentic. I personally love British accent. I can't speak with British accent because I feel fake, completely fake. It's not me. So just find what resonates with you, what feels natural to you, and that's it. Excellent. Okay, we have 2 more talks today. John, do we have one more question over there? We have one question here. Before we go with the one here, John, let me know what questions we have there, and then we'll go with the last question here.
Yes, perfect. Why? I want to answer a question from the chat that has to do actually with our platform right now. And we have one question from our students here in Mexico. So I'm going to start first by answering that question from, let me see, we have it over here. So, Jerónimo Pacheco asks, is it normal to understand with subtitles than with listening? And actually, right now in our platform, everyone has had the access to subtitles. And to answer this question, Jerónimo, yes, it's completely normal. We all develop our skills at different times. We first learn to speak and to listen when we are kids, right? Then when we go to school, we start learning how to read and how to write. So it's normal that when we are acquiring a second language, we develop certain skills first in comparison to others. So my recommendation, my suggestion is enjoy the fact that you have access to both pieces of content and try to merge them together and use them to your favor. That is actually fully connected to our platform right now, in which we have subtitles available for you to practice your listening and your vocabulary. So let's continue with the question I have here from Mexico City, and then we go all the way to Bogota. But actually, I want you to come over here so people can see you. This is your 15 seconds of fame. Feel free to say hi to your mom and to all your followers on social media as well.
Okay, where's the camera? Over there?
It's over there, there.
Okay. Yes, I'm a little bit nervous, but okay, let's say. So my question is about, the slang, about English is different in countries, different countries, So how is the vocabulary that you can perform with this other countries with the Slack, you know. But I don't know because Slack is like a, you know, very low language, you know. But I mean Slack just like modismos in Spanish, you know. The modismos is just like a little more I don't know how to say in English, but it's a little more sophisticated, you know, a little more, you know. But it's like just like a low language. I would like to know about how this is in other countries, you know, how change the language with other countries. Practically, is that my question? Yeah.
Wow, that's a question. Do you want me or Waira to answer that question, or you want Christian or John in Bogota to answer?
Both, please.
All of us.
Everyone.
Everyone.
Anyone.
Perfect.
Yes.
That's part of learning, asking questions. Great, fantastic question. I'm going to start over here. Why? And then I'll send the ball all the way to Bogota, okay?
I'll receive it here. Perfect.
Beautiful. So slang is this type of vocabulary you use in very casual conversations, right? That you use with your friends, that you use when you're going to the market to buy something. That doesn't mean it's bad English per se. It's English in a different environment, okay? How do you deal with that? With patience and understanding that slang is also connected to cultures. Ask questions. Hey, what does that mean? The worst that can happen is that they give you an answer, an explanation, right?
Yes.
But if you don't ask that question, then you're going to be fully confused. And I speak from my experience here in Mexico. Mexico City has a lot of slang.
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes,
just for that, I question that, yes.
You see, sometimes I feel more comfortable saying what I want to say in English because of that fear that my message is not being understood. And I have a lot of friends here in Mexico City, and I sometimes when I need to confirm something, I use English because the slang is so present here that it's confusing at times. And we end up talking about two completely different things. And it has happened in restaurants, it has happened, you know, in public places. So it's all right to feel confused with slang.
Yes.
It's normal, right? But it's also a very enriching experience. My recommendation, ask, hey, what does that mean? The worst that can happen is that you say, thanks.
Or the context, no? You can understand by the context?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. That's my tip for you. What about in Bogota? Why?
Okay, I want to start with John because John said it already, you know, like the law environment tends to be very formal. So John, I want to hear from you, how do you handle the use of slang in the environment, in your job, in your environment?
So slang is a very dangerous thing to learn because slang in proper business, in proper English, in business English, might get you into trouble. So you've got to be careful with what you employ and to only use it in the setting that you learn it. The way I learned slang was movies, series, rap songs, so I know a lot of slang. But I never use it, never, in a business setting. I only use it in casual settings, parties, trips, and whatever. And that's my approach to it. Not with patience, but with eagerness, because it makes fun. It makes part of my entertainment.
Love that. I love that. Very important. Christian, what about you? Do you want to complement something there?
Well, I think that the slangs is more for conversational English, more informal conversations, more things that, well, if you don't understand some slangs, just ask. Because in Spanish, I don't know all the slangs. So it's just for be confident and ask what means that. And that's it.
I agree. I'm not going to add anything else because I agree with everything you have said. And yeah, it's tricky. It's one of those things that you learn by context. And just be careful. Just be careful. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, excellent. Let's go with one last question here because we have 2 more presentations and John's surprise from Mexico. So, Aida, you have a question here. Tell us.
Hello. My question is for both. So, sometimes when we are talking or we are speaking with a native, some of them speak very fast and also use a lot of no slang. It's like a contractions. So, what if you have ever speak with any native speaker? What is your worst and your best experience with them?
I love that. What's your worst and your best experience? Okay, who wants to start?
So imagine speaking with a costeño here in Barranquilla, ¿no? Hey, ajá, vale. Trae la cosa esa acá y déjate de joder. Imagine an American listening to that. He's going to say, I didn't understand a thing you just said. No? When you face that speaking to a native English speaker, our Latin sentiment and the way we think it should be is that we should have understand everything that he said. But that's not right because he's speaking on proper fashion and in a way that's not easy to understand. So you've got to call it out and you've got to tell him, hey, could you please speak a little bit slower? And what did you mean by this? If there's a contraction that you didn't understand, you can say it and you are allowed to say it and not feel dumb. When you speak with an American here in Bogotá or in Colombia or in Latin America, and you see that they ask something, you never see themselves ashamed of what they're asking. Us Latins are, oh, I'm so dumb, I didn't understand. But that's really dumb because we've got the right as well to ask them to speak slower and clearer.
I think that's very important. We are very hard with ourselves, but when we talk to a foreigner and they speak bad Spanish, we're like, oh no, that's perfect, don't worry. So let's use the same for ourselves. If we make a mistake, let's talk to ourselves. That's perfect, don't worry. And I'm with you. Asking is a natural part of communication. It has happened to us in our own language, right? That we speak, it's like, what? Sorry, I didn't understand. Can you repeat? Perfectly fine. So, same with another language. Thanks, John. Christian, what do you want to add?
Well, for example, for the contractions, you need just to ask because we have some contractions in a different context. In the tech context, we have a lot of small words, contractions, a lot of letters that mean something. So you are not going to learn all of them. So you need just to ask, and that's it. And for when they speak very fast, the things that I do is, can you repeat, please? The first one. And the second one is with patience and with the time, you are going to hear more words because you are training your mind to hear some different accents, some different speed. So for the speed, I think be patient, and that's it.
I think that's very important, Christian. We want to learn English from one day to another. I want to understand everything right now. Remember, it took us about 5 years to learn Spanish, to learn our native language. So why would we learn a second language in a month? right? It's not realistic. So let's think about it and let's be patient. Excellent. Okay, and we go to an excellent point. We are talking about how do we understand a native? Well, we have a surprise for you and we are going to put you to the test right now, everyone, with a native. But before I introduce our next speaker and we'll let you know who he is, what he's going to talk about, I want us to go and watch this video and we'll be back in a couple seconds.
¿Quieres hacer negocios internacionales? ¿Viajar a Europa, levantar capital para tu emprendimiento o estudiar en el extranjero? Si tu respuesta es sí, necesitas aprender inglés. Hablar inglés es necesario para el mundo globalizado en el que vivimos y en Platzi lo sabemos. Lo importante es dar el primer paso y perder el miedo a tener conversaciones cotidianas como
hablar sobre ti y quienes te rodean, responder preguntas básicas y sobre todo
adquirir confianza en tu vocabulario
para quitarte esa idea constante que dice
entiendo inglés, pero no lo hablo.
Líderes del idioma te enseñarán las habilidades y herramientas que necesitas para llegar al nivel de inglés que estás buscando. No pierdas más oportunidades por no hablar inglés. Regístrate a Platzi y comienza hoy tu primera clase. Yo me estaba acá divirtiendo un ratico en México haciendo la equivalencia de que ya he tenido la oportunidad de compartir con personas de diferentes acentos aquí mismo dentro de México y me dijeron, no, John, falta más. Entonces, retomando un poquito lo de los acentos y lo del slang, es parte de la cultura, disfrutémoslo y entendamos que hay espacio para todo. Seguimos entonces y llega el momento, como lo decías, White, de que hablemos de negocios, business. And I understand that when we are learning business English, there are a lot of challenges that we face when we're learning how to communicate in a more professional setting. And combining this with the fact that sometimes it's a bit more challenging or enriching, I would say, to communicate with native English speakers, here we have Chris Edenfield, a teacher that you have seen before in English Academy. He has a couple of courses already with us, and there are more to come. And here he comes to share his experience and his tips on how to, prepare ourselves to learn, to practice, and to use business English. So, Chris, it's great to see you all the way, through the distance. You in Bogota, me here in Mexico. How are you doing? And thanks for accepting this invitation.
Thank you very much. I'm doing great. I'm very excited to be here, to have this opportunity to talk to all of our students here in Bogota, also to our students in Mexico and wherever else you might be connecting from.
Excellent, Chris. Thank you for accepting this invitation. We had a very complete introduction from John. So, Chris, you bring two challenges today. One, you're an English native speaker. So that's amazing. That's the challenge today, right? You have been adjusting your ears right now to English. So now this is the time to pay more attention. And Chris, now we invited you because we want that perspective from the teacher, right? It's also important for us and for our community, so everyone take notes, to have this perspective from the teacher side. So Chris, all yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Waida. And again, thank you everyone here. Thank you for this opportunity. To begin with, it's been said a lot already, but I'm going to repeat it. It's pretty obvious that English is no longer just something that gives you a competitive advantage, but it's something that is absolutely necessary in your professional lives, especially if you want to reach the highest position that you can or work for some of the most well-known companies that exist out there. All right? So the first thing I wanted to do was show, 1 second. This slide? Okay. All right, so I'll continue. Oh, okay. Oh.
No. You know, these are the things that happen live. It's just for you to know this is not pre-recorded. So, okay, let us just do a switch here. And Chris, we are all yours now.
Okay. All right. Okay, so strategies. Estrategias para triunfar con el inglés en el mundo laboral. So, how is my Spanish? The first thing I want to say is that, and this is a comment on what was said earlier about how a lot of Latins are very hard on themselves with how they speak or how they pronounce when they are speaking English. And and I think Wyra had said before, when an American or another English speaker is speaking in Spanish, you guys always say, "Oh, you guys are you're doing such a great job." I hear all the time how good my Spanish is, and I know that I make a lot of mistakes. So the first thing, be a little bit easier on yourselves. Don't worry about making mistakes. Okay? The idea is that you are using English, that you are practicing your conversational skills, and that you are, with every word, every sentence, every conversation that you have in English, you are getting better. You are reinforcing the language, and you're hopefully getting more comfortable as you become more competent. Okay? All right, so I'm just going to throw some numbers at you, and I've just read an article just at the beginning of the week. And it said that this is from an American newspaper, and it was talking about how U.S. companies are outsourcing more jobs, more of their support service personnel to places like Latin America, Asia, really all over the world. So it says in the next decade, between 10 and 20% of U.S. support service personnel could be outsourced. As I said, one of those places that figures to benefit from this is Latin America. All right? Some of those positions are HR professionals, payroll administrators, and software developers. There's also accountants and risk analysts that are being outsourced at a quicker pace. Some of the departments that U.S. companies are looking to outsource are departments such as legal, finance, and tech. I'm sure a lot of you here that are already in, already working, that are already in the job market, have probably noticed this. Have probably noticed that there are a lot more advertisements to fill positions that are being outsourced from the U.S. All right? And one of the surveys that they mentioned was that 7.3% of U.S. senior managers are looking to hire more jobs, or sorry, looking to hire more people from overseas. All right? So what are one of the challenges for companies hiring abroad? If you're a U.S. company and you want to hire someone overseas, what's the first thing that you want to make sure that this person can do? Exactly. Speak English. Language barriers. Language barriers. That is one of the number one obstacles, for someone that wants to hire someone from another country or overseas. So, missed opportunities. What are some of the things that we miss out on if we do not speak, if we don't speak English? All right. Speaking from not personal experience, but from what a lot of my students have told me, is that they get looked over. They get passed over for a lot of the jobs, especially management jobs, positions that would be, in their eyes, be a raise or a promotion. They're getting passed over because they don't speak English. All right? So I've had people tell me that they've gone to an interview. They were, they had all the technical skills, they had the soft skills, they had the experience, but just because they didn't speak English, someone else got the job, someone that presumably did speak English. Okay? Another missed opportunity is less visibility, right? Sometimes, you might be in a meeting, maybe you are speaking to a foreign client, something like that. And the only person that is doing any of the speaking or any of the understanding are the ones that are in the meeting that speak English, right? And those people are the ones that are getting noticed, right? If you're in a meeting and you don't understand English, but everyone else in the meeting does, it's going to be very difficult for you to communicate your ideas about that meeting. You're not going to have many ideas regarding that meeting. So, what can you do to improve your English and get to the point where you feel comfortable using English in a professional setting. My number one tip would just be through doing it. Gain mastery by doing. We've heard it in different words, it's paraphrased different ways, but basically we learn through doing, right? If you are an athlete, if you play a sport, if you play an instrument and you're really good at it, think about all of the hours, all of the days, all the time that you spent investing in that skill. It's the same thing with language, whether you're learning English or, in my case, trying to improve my Spanish. You didn't become a great soccer player or a great trumpet player by just reading a textbook, right? You need to go out there and you need to practice. You need to practice every day, or at least most days. So try to find time every day where you can really immerse yourself in English and try to learn by doing. All right. We heard Christian earlier talking about doing things with fear, and I think that is an excellent example. That you need to get outside of your comfort zone. Right. When we're outside of our comfort zone is when we end up learning the most, I think. So you really need to be afraid. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Even if you are feeling that fear, just know that when you just go ahead and do it. Open your mouth, speak, especially in professional settings. Another thing that you really want to do is to look for friends. Look for friends in your work setting. All right. Look for other people who are interested in learning English, especially if you work in a field that requires a lot of technical words and a lot of technical vocabulary. Try to meet up with other people in your work and try to learn English together. Take advantage of all of the resources that Platzi offers, especially like the voice chats, the meetups. These are perfect opportunities to practice your speaking. Okay? All right. All right. I've talked to other students who have told me that although they had known English pretty much all of their lives, or at least by the time that they got to their current position, one of the students told me, said, if I didn't speak English, I would not have this job. Not only would she not have been able to get that job, but she wouldn't be able to do her job. She has to read a lot in English. So without having that ability, she wouldn't be able to do her job. So yeah, that's my message here, is to just try to fill your day with as much English as you possibly can. Reading, you can listen to music, you can watch movies and series, listen to podcasts, but always try and do it with an intention, all right? Try to set a goal for yourself, right? A lot of people will just watch TV, as part of their daily entertainment. Sometimes people will words and phrases will just filter through to you, and you'll remember some of them, but a lot of them will just get lost in the background. So try and keep a notebook. Try and keep a notebook of the new words and phrases that you're learning, and try to use them. Try to use them in the next day or that same day, because if you don't, there's a good chance that those words and those phrases that you heard or that you read are just going to evaporate or fly out of your mind. All right? So, thank you.
Excellent, Chris. Thank you so much for sharing this. I know everyone here was paying a lot of attention. I'm sure in Mexico as well. John, do we have any special comment, question from Mexico before we go? No, actually, you know what, John? I know you have some questions there, but I know you will answer them in a special way. So we are talking about business. We have been talking about the importance of English at work. You got here the experience not from one person, but from all of Chris's students, right? This is not it's experience from many students who have faced this. So now you mentioned something important, and it's not only about understanding, about having the skill and, I don't know, going through the interview, right? But you actually need it to do the job. So you need to have the level of English required really to be able to perform properly. But for you to get to that job, to that moment where you need English, you need to go through the interview as well, right?
True.
And that's something that's scary. It can be scary. I want people here and in Mexico and at home, why not? Raise your hand if you have had an interview in English and you have felt scared. Okay, I love it. Let's
Nobody?
go.
No?
Okay.
Okay, we're going to be able to see Mexico
There
here
you
in
go.
just a second.
Keep your
Look
hands
at
up.
those
Keep your
hands.
hands up. There you go. A lot of people, right? That's scary, and sometimes we say, oh, you know what? I better don't take that interview because it's going to be in English. It's going to be difficult. So, John, I want you to tell us a little bit about this topic. We go with that talk that you have for our community, and then we go with your surprise. What do you say?
Let's do it. Why? This is something that I'm actually very passionate about, job interviews in English. I've had the opportunity to interact with some of our students in the past, answering some questions about job interviews. And actually a couple of weeks when we met here in Mexico for another event, I said, all right, come to this particular talk. I'm going to be revealing some secrets, if you will, because part of my job at Platzi is to recruit teachers. I'm responsible for the English courses that you see in our platform, but I cannot do that myself. We need a bunch of teachers with great talent, with great skills, to be in front of those courses. And throughout my time as an interviewer, finding teachers and people for multiple positions, I've had the opportunity to collect several tips that I'm going to be revealing with everyone right here, right now, on how to face those job interviews in English and use your English to your favor. So it's time to see those tricks that will allow us to use our English more efficiently, and especially to ace those job interviews. Let me just confirm, while our streamers do their magic, my slides should be appearing here, right? So I should be looking at that camera, right? Chuy, I love Mexico because it's very wide here. All right, perfect. I just want to make sure that everyone can see me, okay? So as I was saying, job interviews in English can cause a lot of fear, right? And part of those emotions is understanding that there are things that we can do. We've heard multiple messages throughout this session already about, face that fear, take that challenge, and do it with preparation. So I want everyone to take a look at this, to take notes of some of the tips that I'll be sharing right now, because they come from real experiences, okay? And to start with, this might look a little bit basic or, redundant or obvious, but practice your pronunciation. The amount of people that come to job interviews not knowing how to pronounce the name of the company, or how to pronounce the name of the position they are applying for, or how to pronounce certain words related to the job is huge. There's a lot of people that come unprepared when it comes to pronunciation in that aspect, okay? So if you want to make sure that you have a successful job interview in English, your pronunciation makes a huge impression. And especially focus on the things that you can control, which are the name of the company, right? You need to do some research. It's not Platzi, it's Platzi. And funnily enough, there's been people in interviews that come and say, yes, Platzi is a great company. I'm like, all right, next. Okay, so make sure that those little details, regardless of your level of English, make sure that those details are covered. Know how to pronounce the name of the company, know how to pronounce, the words that are connected to the job description, and of course, the position. Make sure you have all those three things covered. Now, second tip, don't underestimate yourself. When you underestimate yourself is when you say like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not good at this, right? And you do that before the interview, right? Tip number 1 here, you don't know if the other person is as scared or as afraid as you are. That person is human, right? And who knows? That might be the first interview in English from that person. You don't know that, right? So when you humanize that interview, your level of fear comes down, okay? So see that person as a person that can be also scared of using their English in the interview. And don't underestimate yourself by starting the conversation saying, oh, I'm sorry for my English, or my English isn't good. Forget about that. Do not mention that, because that automatically will distract the attention, right? And if I hear that, now I'm going to pay attention to all your mistakes. And the purpose of the interview is gone, okay? So second tip, don't underestimate yourself, and especially do not say, I'm sorry, my English isn't good. Do not apologize. The fact that you are there in the interview is already a big achievement. So do not underestimate yourself. Number 3, be direct, but keep it conversational. English is a very direct language. If somebody asks you, hey, do you like pizza, right? Do not start by saying, pizza is one of the most delicious foods in the world. Pizza comes from the ancient Greece. Do not do that, right? Go straight to the point, but keep it conversational. So again, going back to the pizza. Do you like pizza? Yes. Or no? Don't do that, right? Elaborate on your answer. So give a clear answer, yes or no, but elaborate on your answer. So say, yes, I like pizza. My favorite flavor is pineapple pizza, because I know this is controversial, right? My favorite pizza is, pineapple pizza. What's yours? So you're answering the question, but you're keeping it conversational. That is crucial. No matter what your level of English is, if you do that, you are going to feel a lot more confident, okay? Be careful with the type of questions that you send back, right? Because if the question is, what's your salary expectation? Well, you cannot send the question back for obvious reasons, right? But make sure you find spaces where you can connect with the other person, making sure that you answer the questions directly. Number 4, investigate to connect. If you are facing that job interview, it's because you're interested, hopefully, right, to get the job. So find words, find ideas that can help you connect. Go through the website of the company and see an event that they're doing, or see the latest product that they launched, and find words, find ideas that you can use to connect. Something like, oh, I saw the other day in social media that you just launched X product. That automatically shows that you care. And when you know those words, that vocabulary that belong to my company, I feel like you're really interested in that, okay? So make sure you investigate to connect. You have to be smart. And make sure you write down, one of the corporate values at Platzi is never stop learning, okay? So imagine if I come to that interview and I say, yeah, I identify myself with one of your values, which is never stop learning. I will automatically be like, wow, this is cool. So investigate to connect. Make sure you create that connection, and it is your responsibility to do so. And last but not least, prepare your questions. Make sure you have written down some questions for your interviewer. The worst thing, in my experience, and this is just my personal opinion, the worst thing that can happen is that we get to the point in that interview in which we say, hey, do you have any questions for me? And the person says, no, I don't have any questions. Okay. There's always questions, right? There's always questions. If you investigate, and if you have already made a connection, and if you have practiced your pronunciation, and if you haven't underestimated yourself, you will get to the point in which closing that interview is crucial. So prepare some questions, but prepare them taking into account good grammar, good pronunciation. You can control this. You cannot control the rest of the things. in the interview, but you can absolutely control the closing. If you prepare good questions, you are going to leave a good impression. So make sure you prepare those questions. Last but not least, I want to invite everyone to take advantage of a course that we have precisely on job interviews. And spoiler alert, because I like spoilers, those who know me know that I spoil as much as I can. This month, very soon, actually, no, it's April. Next month we'll be launching a new version of our job interview course in English. This course is also, or has also been created with students with very real experiences. So make sure you stay tuned to practice your English for job interviews with this course. Back to you, Wai.
Okay. John, you gave a spoiler, and I'm going to join you today. Hoy me voy a unir al spoiler, porque acá tengo dos de esos estudiantes de nuestra comunidad que participaron en el curso. Apenas dijiste, les dije, vengan para acá. Quiero que me cuenten un poquito, in English, Spanish, whatever you want. Not too many spoilers. What did you learn participating in that course? What is your biggest learning? Santi, Aleja, who wants to start? I love it. It's like, I don't know what to say, so do you want to start?
So, this experience is amazing. It was amazing from me, and connect with the presentation today with the fear thing, because I do this recorder with a lot of fear, and I learned about my capacities, and I learned about my biggest fears and little if I think about that. No, because when you overthinking, you start to imagine these horrible situations, and no, it's not that. And the biggest lesson and learn about that is we are humans. All are humans. We can make mistakes, and we can learn about these mistakes. And if you learn, you're gonna improve. And in the next one, gonna be better, gonna be amazing. And don't fear about make mistakes, because all people make mistakes. If you want to do perfect, you're never gonna be perfect. So please don't stop yourself and doing the things, and do it with fears.
Well, that message resonated here. I want you to tell me in the chat, do you agree with Aleja? Here we heard the enthusiasm. Help us hear the enthusiasm in the chat as well, please. Aleja, and I'm with you. We aim for perfection. Nothing is ever perfect. So, well, let's not aim for that. Let's aim for progress. I'm going to copy here one of John's favorite quotes, because I like it as well. Practice makes progress. Not perfect. It makes progress, and that's what we should aim for. Santi, what about you? What was your biggest learning in this experience? Thanks, Aleja.
Well, I agree with Aleja. As you were saying, don't be so hard with yourself, because it is a process. And the other thing, it was the most important things to share with others, because as you were sharing with us about your process, you have to share the main points that made you grow and continue improving. So that was one of the most important things. Like, what were the most important things that helped me and that I want to share with others, so I can help them and they also can grow and improve.
Wow. I love this. Thank you so much for sharing that experience. And you know, John already mentioned one of the core values from Platzi, that is never stop learning. And I'm going to take advantage of what you just said, Santi, to mention another one that's very important, and the one that makes us all be here today, and it's our community comes first. In Platzi, we learn in community, and that's why we are here, and that's why we are sharing, because everyone has something to share with other person. Even when you think, oh, but I'm just starting, I don't know, there is another person that is also starting and can learn from you. Maybe not learn English from you, maybe something simple that you learn that will help this person, but they can learn strategies from you. They can learn courage from you. So let's make sure that we share. And I'm going to invite everyone again. Let's make sure we share. So I want everyone to share today on their social media with the hashtag Platzi Eventos. Share what you are learning today, what you learned today. Let's share with other people to encourage them as well. Santi and Aleja, thank you so much for sharing. And if you want to see what role they played in that course, pay attention, because you're going to see them there. If you're in Bogota and you want to talk to them, get to know a little bit more, of course we'll have the time to do that. Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys. Okay. Okay. I love to have our community participating in different things. John, you thought you had the biggest spoiler today, and I just added to it, inviting here the students that participated in that project. So, spoiler together. We spoil here together. So, John, you have over there a surprise for us, so go ahead, John.
Guay, tú trajiste estudiantes al escenario, pues yo también tengo acá mis estudiantes en el escenario. Por cierto, Aleja y Santi, un saludo muy especial. Me alegra verles nuevamente en este tipo de espacios. Como me encantan los spoilers, quiero aprovechar para contarles que justo hoy me hicieron entrega del primer borrador de clases y ya tuve la oportunidad, Aleja y Santi, de ver los cortes de ustedes si están. Voy a botar mi mexicano una vez más, ustedes me van a decir, porque yo estoy acá en proceso de aculturación, ¿no? Y esos cortes están de chulada. ¿Sí? ¿Sonó bien? ¿Sí? De 1 a 10, díganme la verdad, porque estoy aprendiendo mexicano. 20, uy, me dieron 20 por acá, genial, me encanta ese positivismo, muchas gracias. No, pero realistas. ¿Qué? De 1 a 10, ¿qué tan mexicano? Siendo 10, nativo, o sea, me camuflo súper bien, y siendo 1, John, se te sale lo colombiano, mejor dicho, cuando caminas.
I would give it a 4.
Wow. Ok, pero es honest feedback para mí.
You need more slangs.
I need more slang. You see, slang is important, part of those casual conversations, for casual moments only. Así que...
Using other slang in Mexico, I will say that 2-3.
2-3.
2-3?
2-3.
2.
It's like...
2-3, ok, more or less. Yo escuché postres y me emocioné. Me emocioné, me encanta la comida. Dejando los spoilers aside, we have other 2 course students here from Platzi, Mexico. And I prepared a couple of questions. Essentially, what I want to do right now is to hear from your experience as learners. We've had Cristian and John all the way from Bogota, sharing from that professional aspect as well. And I'm gonna steal one of the questions that I heard today, and it was, what has been the most enriching experience in your English learning process, and also what has been the most challenging experience? Those 2, like the opposite ones, right? The one you say, okay, this was the best, and the one you say like, ooh, this was interesting. Okay, so Luis, let's start all the way with you.
Okay, give me just a second. I want to say hi to Aleja. I know her. We have a Discord about Platzi students of UI UX. Hello, Aleja. And the first question, it was the most enriching experience I have. I think it's something, I think Cristian said it. Voy a resignificar eso. You need to divorce from your native speaking language, and not like divorce like in a way, I will never speak it again, but like try to use, in this case English, try to use English and consume English constantly and think in English constantly. Like they gave the movies example. English movies, no Spanish subtitles, only English. If you will get what you will get. It's the important thing is to be fearless and just go. But I will say another thing. It's since I am a gamer, one of the most enriching things I have done to my English learning process was actually gaming with people outside my country and outside Latin America. For example, obviously from Americans, with Americans and Europeans, Koreans, Japanese, whatever. That's really, really enriching because it's not you're not only speaking or thinking in English, but you have to focus in the game. That's kind of really hard. And what was the second question?
It's all right. So we're talking about the most enriching and the most challenging one.
The most challenging one was actually the accents. The first time I heard an African American talking, it was like, huh? What? Because they talk really fast and with a lot of slangs, and it's kind of an imperfect English. I don't know. That was one of the most challenging things I have done. And then the English from America, it's not the same English that they use in London. For example, it's really different, and it's really difficult for me. Even in movies, when there's people from London talking English, like, is that English? That's one of the most challenging things I have done.
Wow, so here we have accents once more, right? That's part of learning something new, okay? And understanding that we're gonna face those situations and doing it anyways, right? Now, let's come with you, but this is the first time you see this person on stage. So you already met Luis, you know, he's a designer, right? What about yourself? Let's start by introducing yourself a little bit, and then most challenging and also most enriching experience.
Very most enriching. Okay, yes, I am Ivan. I am a biomedical engineer. I studied in Mexico, yes, here, in Polytechnic Institute. And yes, okay. And my most enriching experience was encourage of open my mind, because when you learn English, you have to stay open to think in a different way, because you have to learn to start to think in the verbs, in the preposition, in a different way that we used to think in Spanish. And other also, it's good for the body and for the mind, I think, because it's a different language. Also like music, because that opens to improve your mental health. And yes, one of the richest experience that I have was encourage to lose the fear to make the interviews in English. I listened the accent from Indian people and of Canadian people, and they are very, very interesting, but they also are very patient when they note that you are not a native person. So when I ask them that please repeat me this thing, they did it with no problem. In that sense, I am grateful with English, because it allows me to know more steps to improve the English in that sense. And well, the second question I would like to say which was the most challenging. Attend training, yeah. Attend training in biomedical engineer science, because it was a very technical language, and it's very difficult in the very first moments, because you have to need a great background by reading, by searching for the equipment, or things related with the things that I need to learn. So in that sense, attend trainings from people from USA with a specific question or specific terms was very challenging, but I have a good grade in that course. Even with a little bit of words that I can understand at all.
Wow, fantastic. We have Ivan from biomedical engineering, and we have Luis from the design world. You know, what a mix of different contexts, right? And in both cases, we saw something similar, which was accents, right? It can be a challenge, but it can also be a very enriching experience, right? The worst thing that can happen when you ask questions is, well, that you get the answers, right? And also, the accent is part of the culture, and that means that that person is also facing several fears. So humanize the process, the conversational process, and you will get to enjoy it a little bit more. To kind of like wrap up this session, why I want to end English Talks hybrid version Mexico and Bogota with two final tips from students here from Mexico City.
John.
So Luis and Ivan, yes.
Before we go there, we have a question here from one of our
Oh, nice.
students. So let's connect.
Good,
Aleja,
let's do it.
You have a question here.
Yes. Hi, Emma. Greetings from Bogota.
You see, this is it's great to connect
Yeah.
this way. Never seen before.
And we can promote our study group on the design and product community. We have a little study group, and it's amazing. We never know personally, but we know about Platzi community, and it's amazing. We have a big friendship about that.
You see, and this wasn't prepared. We are fully live right here, right now, and that's the beauty of our community, right? That we can find common things and connect and practice English through those things. Okay, nice, Why? Thank you for helping us connect this way, Luis.
I want to add something, and it's an invitation to all the Platzi students. It's really serious when Platzi says we are learning in community. But I think a big part of that is that you have the willingness to reach to other students. That's how I connected with Aleja and Hulber, Caviedes, and Diana, I think, because we have the willingness of connect with each other. That's a really powerful thing Platzi has. We learn in community, and that's really serious, and that happens. When I discovered this in the Discord, it was really awesome to see that there's other people who want to learn with the passion that I have, and it was really awesome. Yes, I have that. I really give you that invitation. Connect with people.
Wow, Luis, thank you for that message. So if you want to never stop learning, well, then learn in community. Very
learn
powerful
together.
words.
Okay.
Yeah, learn together.
So,
And to wrap up this session, why?
John, we have
Luis,
Aleja's
more questions.
question.
Oh,
We have
beautiful.
Aleja's
All right.
question.
Good.
Wait. We have Aleja's question here.
thank you.
Aleja, yeah, there you go.
My question is about how do you deal with the situation when you have the idea on your mind, but you can't express it, and you feel like you are stupid, but you are not stupid, but you have this thinking and you can express right now in a real world conversation. So how do you deal with that?
Both Ivan and Luis, how do you deal when you have the idea here, but it just doesn't come out?
I think that comes with experience. It's not about what you do, but how many times you have experienced that fear. That's a life-changing event, because the more you are willing exactly to go outside and learn English and talk in English, you will be gaining more experience. In my case, what I do exactly, it's just move like water. Just keep moving, and if you don't know how to say something, just tell that in Spanish, or just try to find another ways to communicate that thing that you want to communicate. Okay?
I would like to say that you should try and keep trying, because you need to improve by the time. And like the lema of Platzi, nunca pares de aprender, don't stop learning, because you need a lot of vocabulary and background to answer the questions or resolve the situation. So I encourage you to never learn to
Never stop learning.
never stop learning. Exactly.
You see, collaborative work, even here, on stage. This is real, people. Nice.
Yeah.
Aleja, does that answer your question? Real tips from real people?
Yes. We have a yes
Good.
from here.
Okay.
Nice. We have her approval. That's good. That is important. Nice. Why? We have any more questions in Bogota?
Not from here, John. We are getting ready. Do you know what we are getting ready for?
Yes, we are getting ready for that. Yes. Now, to wrap up, Luis and Ivan, hold on. You haven't given me the tips. Okay. Right? Before we go from the experts in the learning process, that it's you right now. Imagine you are publishing a book, right? And that book is on learning English. What would be the title of that book, right? And that's going to be our final tip, okay? I want everyone at home here in Mexico City and there in Bogota to take these two final quotes from actual learners in this, English learning process. So you're publishing your book, and you're going to write the title of that book on tips on how to, practice and learn English. What would be the title of that book? Luis is ready, and I can swear this wasn't prepared, people, right? Go ahead, Luis.
Okay. I think it's a one-word title, aviéntate, because you can watch all the courses you can, read all the books you can, but if you are not out there talking, there's just no way you will learn. It's not the same to know English than to speak in English. Aviéntate. That would be my title.
Wow. Copyright. People, watch out. Copyright.
Because
Here.
Notion, AI.
Oh my goodness. Is that real? No? Okay. Perfect. Aviéntate, which in English would be something like, just do it.
Get out there.
Yeah.
Get out there.
We cannot say just do it because another company has it. That's very unfortunate, right? But just take the risk. Go ahead and do it.
Take the risk.
Take the risk.
Yeah.
Take the risk. We're going to leave it like that. Perfect. Thank you, Luis. Ivan.
Okay. Claro, gracias. A mí en español me gustaría llamarlo tal vez algo así como itera y aprende, o repite y aprende, o mejora y aprende, ¿saben? Porque esta idea de que se parte de una base y se tiene que ir mejorando, creo que es lo necesario justamente para poder ir mejorando y llegar a un nivel como el que nuestro maestro tiene. Sí, así que sí, yo llamaría como tal iterarlo y mejorando, o repite iterando. No, y mejora iterando tal vez.
Mejora iterando. Improve by iterating.
Improvise, adapt, overcome.
Improvise, adapt, overcome. Wow. Copyright, people. Once more, copyright. Okay. This is being recorded, just in case. Wow, very powerful words. Thank you so much, Luis, Ivan. Thanks for facing the fear of being in public and speaking of, in front of thousands of people. Right? I appreciate your willingness to take that step. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, why todo lo bueno? Como dice el dicho, bueno, era la parte donde tú me complementabas, ¿no? El yin tiene su yang, el día tiene su noche, todo lo bueno tiene su final. Así que back to you para que nos cuentes qué es lo último que vamos a hacer para finalizar con broche de oro esta tercera edición de English Talks, esta vez en modalidad híbrida desde Colombia en Bogotá y desde México en Ciudad de México. Así que cuéntanos cómo vamos a cerrar esta noche. Guay, cuéntanos cómo vamos a cerrar. Ay, ya es que ya están listos allá. Pero no te escucho. O sea, te veo, pero no te escucho.
Ok, ¿ya me escuchas?
Ya te escucho. Yo acá feliz de la vida echando acá chisme con la gente.
No,
ya están listos. Pero entonces, nosotros nos ubicamos acá como los pingüinos de Madagascar, ¿no? ¿Cómo son los pingüinos de Madagascar?
Gorditos y bonitos.
Bueno, ahí el orden de los factores no afecta. Productos bonitos y gorditos, el resultado es el mismo, ¿listo?
¿Ahí me estás escuchando? ¿México me escucha?
Sí, acá te estamos escuchando.
Perfecto,
Vamos a ir
perfecto. Mientras ustedes
bonitos
se
y gorditos
organizan,
o gorditos y bonitos y vamos a tomarnos una foto en vivo y en directo. Bogotá,
John, mientras ustedes se
México.
organizan por allá, les voy a pedir
Listo.
a nuestros streamers que allá váyanse organizando y yo le voy a contando a nuestra comunidad qué vamos a hacer. Bueno, como ven, estamos acá todas las personas desde Bogotá, allá en México John se está organizando. Queremos que ustedes desde casa también hagan parte de esta foto, porque hoy todos y todas estuvimos aprendiendo, inspirándonos con el inglés, así que les quiero invitar a que desde casa se alisten también para tomar esta foto, se tomen una selfie, porque todo esto lo vamos a compartir. Esta es la foto para compartir el mayor aprendizaje que tuvimos hoy. ¿Listo? Entonces, desde casa, no se vayan todavía, pónganse, como dice John, bonitos y gorditos, tómense esa foto acá con nosotros, porque este es nuestro final. Las cosas llegan a un final, pero tiene que ser un final que lo valga. John, ¿cómo están por allá? ¿Ya listos? John, ahora yo no te escucho. Ya.
Is it looking good? Yes.
Listo, entonces.
Yes, we're ready.
¿Listos para la foto?
Are we ready, people, over here? Yes, they are. Bogotá, are you ready?
Yes. Are you ready
Nice.
at home?
People
Let
at
us
home.
know.
People at home, let us know in the chat if you're ready as well. Remember to take a selfie, and I'm going to mute myself for the picture. And this is a wrap, everybody. Muchas gracias a todos y todas por acompañarnos en esta tercera versión de English Talks Bogotá. Un saludo enorme desde Ciudad de México. Queridos estudiantes en México, nos seguimos viendo y hablando a todos en casa. Los invitamos a que nos compartan estas fotos, a que nos veamos en el siguiente evento. Recuerden, nos vamos a ver en platzi.com/eventos. Vamos a continuar haciendo esto. Y no quiero dar más spoilers porque me caracterizan los spoilers, así que platzi.com/eventos para que sepan cuándo, cómo, a qué horas y dónde es el siguiente encuentro. Guay, un placer, y a toda nuestra comunidad en Bogotá, un saludo enorme y bueno, nos vemos en la próxima, ¿no?
¿En qué cámara estoy? Nos vemos en la próxima edición y por supuesto encuentren todos los eventos en platzi.com/comunidad. Nos vemos.